Hello, everyone. Welcome back to EyeOpener Society. I'm very excited to have everybody gathered here. I thank you again. You're a wonderful audience for hitting play, downloading, and everything else. And I just want to also say, too, thank you to other countries, Spain, Germany, UK, Wales. I've noticed that a lot more people are picking us up from overseas, and I welcome you with wide open arms. Thank you for tuning in to us. So I hope that we can get something done together. But today we have Lizzie back again. Thank you, Lizzie. Lizzie, how are you doing?
Doing just excellent, just enjoying the fall season.
Yes, and the fall season, going into the winter season, going into the Christmas season. This is a time of year where we kind of become reclusive. Or at least for me, I know I do. And I was actually out recording another episode today, a solo episode, just in case you, Lizzie, were not able to do one today. Um, but I'm going to put that one out anyway this week. But I went outdoors to do the episode, and I'm keeping myself focused that way because as the sunlight starts to dissipate much earlier than normal and we get very little bit of sunlight, I've noticed some people and some of my own collective here at Eye Opener Society, uh, they don't have the time because they're trying to focus on themselves. And this is good, but if you're doing that, and you, the audience, are you focusing on yourself? Like if you come around this time of year, now, now that I'm thinking about it, some people are in temperate zones. You don't have to deal with all the nonsense of the shifting and the daylight savings time and all. But those of you that do have the four seasons and experience it, many people go and they recluse themselves and they hibernate, so to speak. But are you really reflecting on yourself? And that's something Lizzie and I were discussing because I think we need to focus on ourselves more. This way, once we come back and into the new season, we're refreshed. We have so much more to think about. We have so much more to say. And I'm just hoping that people are doing that. And I know, Lizzie, you have some thoughts on it too, as well.
Yeah, I think that it's just super important. Everybody likes to be high vibe all the time, right? Like that's the obsession, but it's really just not realistic. And I think in nature, it's naturally patterned in for time for pause. The seasons, winter, it gets cold, you have to stay inside more, right? You pick more indoor activities. The moon even changes people's emotions, women's menstrual cycles. It's like built in all of it for just sometimes an activity, really high power, and then sometimes pause. And I think it's kind of like in a balance of both of those. And I think when you try to push one of them, it pushes you too hard into the other. I think that's maybe where seasonal depression came from, or I think that's where mine came from, anyways.
Mm. Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that because I done a whole podcast episode on that, right? But I changed the perspective. I went it to seasonal happiness. Once it
Yeah.
changes your mind on everything, it really does help and saying, okay, well, the season's here. It's really not that bad. But and you also mentioned like in the whole witchcraft society too, it's a celebration of each season, and each season holds some meaning anyway. So winter in witchcraft represents the death of everything. It's a life cycle. We got to live, we got to die, and then there's a rebirth on that. And I think that's a lot of the reason too. So a lot of people do feel that this time of year is the start of the death season.
Yeah, I mean, in nature, the trees all die and we all kind of focus. And like I said, with the activities inwards, for me personally, I think this started because my birthday's in October, right?
Mhm.
And so a long time ago, I started a tradition where every year I'd do a journal entry, kind of not quite a summary over the last year, but just kind of just like a little bit of where my thoughts are at that time. And it kind of ends up starting like a whole season of self-reflection. And then as I got older and I kind of really watched the seasons, I think what happens is if you can catch the wave of something, it goes really easy. But when like this society tries to keep us going the same every day, right? Summer, winter, same level of activity every day of the week. And I think that that just throws you off because you can't maintain that. And if you can follow the flow of it and naturally go up and down with it, then so self-reflect for me from about my birthday mid-October to Yule, December 21st, that's supposed to be like the birth of the sun, right? That's when days start getting longer. That the 21st is usually the longest night of the year. And so at that point, you're still, quote, self-reflecting because it's winter time or whatever, but it's more about dreaming and building because you're catching the flow of something new versus closing out something old.
I like that. And I like that because it's also something that I was thinking about doing too. And I actually did start doing that for this year, especially. And I just started recently. I was fascinated with looking into all different religions. And I started to research a little bit. And I picked up the Book of Enoch and I started reading that. And I want to also pick up anything related to Buddhism and all. And I'm trying to apply all of the different thoughts, omonism. It's fascinating to me, religions at least, because no matter what you read, there's always some similarities. Places and names kind of change, but there's similarities across all these different books. Um, and I've been more fascinated not with religion, but just philosophies of religion. It's much like Buddhism is a philosophy, Hermeticism, that's my favorite. That's what, I got tattooed on me. It's Hermeticism. It's all a philosophy, but a lot of this, it really seems to pack into the same Bible that everybody, follows. You're not going to find the stories to be exactly the same, but they relate extremely. And of course, me, I sit there and as I read all these things, I replace the people with aliens because it suddenly makes so much more sense when you're reading it. You know,
Yeah.
and the one thing that fascinated me with the book of Enoch, when they describe God, God is a person with an entourage and clothing and all. To me, that wouldn't be an almighty source, a creator of all things. That's a person or an alien. So I like this, and that's why I'm going to dive deeper into this during the colder season. So instead of going through seasonal depression, I get to go through a seasonal of learning, and I start to apply that to my own stuff. Because the one thing I mentioned to you, I wanted to practice more of my intuition and some of my gifts, finding out more of what they are and how to use them and how to apply them. And it takes practice. And I figure might as well do that rather than just sit and say, "Oh, it's winter and it sucks." You got to do something different or better than what you think you need to do during this time of year.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's so easy to just want to like curl up and watch a movie or something, you know what I mean? And just like get through it. But truly, like if you can use that pause for learning or whatever it is that you're doing, you just the next year will be better. It's not that and not monotonous. Oh, I can't say the word right now.
You got it right there,
Monotonous
monotonous. Yeah.
activity of the same every single year. I think that's why people get really like anxious and stuck in a rut is because they're doing it every day the same and every year the same. And you have to mix it up. Winter, I've been thinking about painting again because it's been a while since I've painted, and now it's going to be cold. We can't go do nothing. Seems like a good time to just start painting again because otherwise I'll watch TV and I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. And as the audience knows, and as I know especially, it's like I know you take pauses yourself when your energy is getting too much. And you even told me the other day, hey, this might be it. You might not hear from me for a little while. And I get that. That's Lizzie, and what I like though about that, you recognize these patterns. And then when you do take your breaks, you come back more fascinating than you were before. And then I'm more fascinated and it drives me. So this is a good thing. You have a pattern that you follow yourself, but you listen to it. And I think that's what everybody needs to do. Everybody should say, "Hey, I'm feeling all stressed out." No, rather than focus on that, recognize it and turn around and say, "Okay, we're going to do something about it." And you reinvent yourself. In some way, you don't have to change everything, but yeah, change things up. Learn something new. Like me, I want to learn more about religions. You want to go back to painting. Maybe some people want to go into music or whatever the case. Maybe reinvent yourself. Try something new. This way, something new emerges because just like you said, this winter is not so much the death of everything, but it's the beginning of the rebirth because it's just a cycle. Just because we're going through the season of death, it's really a rebirth because that's what's next. And we can't have that next step without the death, if that makes sense.
Yeah, everything, everything. Feminine, masculine energy, light, dark, creation, destruction, it all balances back and forth, and you really can't have one without the other. And same with like as you're trying to evolve yourself, you have to turn inward and then you have to turn outward. You have to go inward and do all this work, find all this peace, find all this creation, and then you have to share it with the world. And that's going to adjust how you're feeling about it, what you're doing with it, and then you're going to turn back inward again. And I think that's where I think a lot of people get stuck is because they have a hard time sharing it or how to pull that out because that's hard to be perceived and to share your own perspectives.
Yeah, it is. And actually, if anybody is having any difficulty with that, I mean, they could contact you because you're very good at that. I mean, you worked with me the other day. You did not have to, but you did. And it made me feel confident. It really did. Because, I mean, even though most of the stuff I knew what was going on, you reinforced it because you're coming from a completely different not just so much a different perspective, but Christ, you're coming from a whole nother state so far away, but yet you're still connected enough to read these things. So definitely people need to reach out to Lizzie. And you can be found on TikTok, energy.by.lizzie. And that's on TikTok or on Instagram. If you check your Instagram, I don't know. I haven't been on Instagram.
Not usually. I might actually delete that one. I'm having a moment with it.
I gotcha. But you can always reach out to EOSmeditation at gmail.com. That's the email for us here at Eye Opener Society. And I could always get you in touch with Lizzie because she's really good at this. And that's the focus of these podcasts really is I want to help people in some way, shape, or form, whether you're just listening to us for entertainment or if you're actually taking something away. And if you are, that makes me feel great. And that's what I always try to do. And like I said, I have no practice. I have no certifications for meditation and all that. That's like saying Jesus needs a certification in order to be a healer. Think about that. But I've been doing it for so long that maybe the way I'm doing it, somebody could use a few tips and tricks. And that's why Wednesday night meditations have changed a little bit. I went from guided meditations to giving people tips and tricks and ideas and focus and how to do it. But again, you do the research and find what works for you. Just like Lizzie finds what works for her, I find what works for me. We can help each other out as a collective. And by the way, how are you doing on that, Lizzie? I know you wanted to try and start a club. Um, have you been on top of that? Have you gotten any new ideas for that?
So I am going to start a club because I think that needing to be certified in order to balance your own energy is illogical. And I agree with you. I think if we all just come together and we're like, hey, this thing is working for me, then everybody else can take pieces of it and build their own thing. And that's what I want. I want to build somehow a collection of people where they can be like, hey, I'm looking at this thing right here, and this is what I'm learning about it, and everybody else can kind of put their 2 cents in and we can all practice something together. And I want to create this so badly, but I have a zero money for it and not really any knowledge on what technology can create a space where I can moderate, but not, but like still allow people to be free to add stuff. And we are in a capitalistic world. People need to make money. I want a spot where I can make money and other people can make money, but also there's stuff for free because it shouldn't be behind a paywall. But your time should be paid for. And so there's so many things going into it that I just don't yet know how to create this logistically for people across wherever they're at.
Well, I'll definitely try and assist you with that because the concept, the whole idea is really, and I think it's actually needed. Because yeah, I think coming into a room where people have like-minded problems or whatever, and we all work it out collectively, I think we learn so much more. What I've learned, especially in the past year and all, is any type of mental health, it's so. Oh, it's so limited these days, and you can't find help when it's really needed. Uh, and if you're in a crisis, obviously you need something immediate, but to have some sort of long-term care, ever since COVID, that a lot of that's gone away. It's such a overfilled field, like there's just no more room. And even I had difficulty trying to find it at one time. So I said, it's so much easier to talk to people with similar problems and all. And even if they don't have it, the same problem, they might have thoughts and ideas that actually may be beneficial to you. So I like that idea of a club, much like a book club, but coming in just as people club. We're coming in as a collective. This is what we got. This is where I am at spiritually. This is how I've been feeling. Has anybody else explored that? So I really would like to get that rolling with you. I really think, like I said, it's needed. It's a great idea, and I think it's something you would be very good leading because you just have that ability. You've been doing it long enough. You've been working with energy long enough. And just from what you've done with me, yeah, it needs to be done. Okay. So let's do
Thank Thank you. I appreciate it. For a long time I wanted to start like a school or something for people to learn how to do it themselves. That was, I think, the first course that I had put out when I first got on TikTok. Is essentially all like the basic skills. But when it comes down to it, everybody truly just has such a unique path. It's not really logical for it to be like an educational type thing. It's got to be an inspirational thing. And yeah, we've got to figure out how to do that. The whole thing's got to be flipped. Everything's just wrong.
it. I gotcha. Well, we'll get it together. And it's a thought right now. It's in the thought process. We'll get it on paper together, and I'll help you as a friend, and we'll get this out there for everybody. And I would love for it to see the light of day, and we could bring people into it. So again, audience out there, everybody that's listening, especially all the other countries now that are tuning into us, I'm extremely appreciative of that. And I really appreciate your listens and all that. Um, so again, if you need Lizzie on TikTok, energy.by.Lizzie. And you can find her on TikTok. Definitely follow her. Don't forget to check out all of our other wonderful people. Elaine is going to have a new episode out for December. So get your horoscope and your astrology readings. We'll be looking forward to hearing more from Ann Lund's Haunted and Waiting, as well as Sunset Child's Out There podcast. I'm hoping we get something from The Sound Within as well, from Hannah Rose. There's so many people in this collective. But also, once I move and I'm in my new space, my stepdaughter, Hannah, with Hannah's Unrealistic Desires, I am going to be lighting the fire under her ass to get some episodes out. And I will definitely be helping her with that. So, yeah, definitely everybody keep tuning in because there's always going to be something new, something different. I'm going to try more of the story time as well. Hey, whatever works, we're going to do it. Lizzie, I thank you again. Thank you for your uh, not only being a co-host, but for being a wonderful friend and for sharing everything that you have. It's always good talking to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on here as always.
Absolutely. So don't forget, tune into us every Monday morning for another episode. And don't forget Wednesday night meditations as well. We'll talk